This is W2FJ8. We'll be starting the STNY digital voice net here in just about 5 minutes. We do have NetLogger up and running. For those folks who wasn't checking early, you can find NetLogger at netlogger.org. We also do have Google Meet up and running, and if you wish to join us on Google Meet, you can find the link at stnydmr.net. So we'll see you folks in just about 5 minutes here. This is W2FGH. is W2FJH bringing up the STNY Digital VoiceNet on Brandmeister Talk Group 31367, Wires X Room 83721, and live stream to Google Meet and YouTube. The primary purpose of the STNY Digital VoiceNet is to help foster an active digital voice community in the southern tier of New York and to provide a forum for those that are interested or have questions regarding various digital voice topics. While this net is primarily for the southern tier, all stations are more than welcome to check in. This net meets weekly on Sundays at 7 p.m. For more information about this net, please visit stnydmr.net. This net will prioritize short-time, mobile, in and out, or emergency power stations. We currently do have 5 stations checked in through NetLogger, so the net would like to recognize K3BYC Carlton, N2QFD Mal, N2BSS Jeff, N3OJP Mick, and N2NRA Cliff. All right, when checking in, please give your call sign, your name, and your location. So let's first take a standby for any stations that are short time, mobile, in and out, or emergency power. Please call now. All right, nothing heard there, so let's open it up for any station that would like to check into the STNY Digital Voice Net this evening. Please call now.
W2FJH. Here's November 3 Delta, Quebec Delta, Ray, Beaver, Pennsylvania.
All right, and we have N3DQD Array. Were there any other stations that joined this evening? Please call now. All right, nothing heard there, so let's kick things off. If there's any announcements for the net this evening, please call now. All right, no announcements, so let's move into questions. If there's any questions for the net this evening, please call now.
N3DQD with a question.
Yeah, sure. N3DQD Ray, fire away with your question there.
My question is this: why does Brandmeister restrict the use of devices like the M1K or the ClearNode device that's similar for All-Star and multiple digital modes on statewide nets? No one's been able to give me a definitive answer. It's almost like it's a capricious thing.
Okay, I'm not too familiar with that myself. I don't have one of the M1K or Clear Nodes that you talk about there. But I do know this the statewide groups are a little bit more restricted. They want to keep QSOs down to I think a 15-minute maximum. That it's more of a calling frequency. They kind of want it as opposed to just a rag chew, kind of similar to how we do here on the Southern Tier Talk group. There's some well. I stay outside the net. I'd like to see more rag chewing going on, but there are so many talk groups that people talk on. It's there's enough free space definitely to find a room there. But I do know those ones they want to keep just rag chewing and stuff like that to a minimum, and they do restrict it to 15 minutes. But I'll open it up if anybody else has any more information about that for Ray. Please call now.
This is K3BYC. I have some information and some attempted clarification and some disagreement with some of that. Whenever you're ready.
Yeah, sure. K3BYC Carlton, fire away.
This is K3BYC. Now, Ray, I assume you've probably been checking into the Pennsylvania statewide where the explanation it has been given. And I've talked with Mike, and I disagree with some, and I think there needs to be clarification. One, Brandmeister, it is a 10-minute time limit on statewide talk groups. Uh, Brandmeister wants on statewide talk groups, they want you using an actual DMR radio, or they want you coming in on DMR. What they don't want is you cross-moding using any device where you can go in, let's say through Yaesu System Fusion and through the Pi-Star software and cross-moding into DMR to get into a statewide talk group. My assumption is that when you do that, you're not necessarily signing in to your Brandmeister account with your security password. I believe that is the issue. I'm going to reset. For those of us who use hotspots, like I use a Raspberry Pi, using the Pi-Star software for DMR, I choose coming in originally on the DMR mode. I sign into my Brandmeister account, and I have a security password. Uh, uh, but apparently the other way, if you take another mode and cross mode into it, I guess it provides an opportunity for the possible unlicensed personnel to get into the system and cross over in there. That is my interpretation. And as far as the N1KE device, and I've told Mike, I think it is perfectly okay to use that as long as you are using a profile where you go originally going through the Brandmeister, starting with DMR, Brandmeister, and going through your account. Don't use a profile where you're starting on YSF or another mode and cross-moding. I still think that is okay as long as you're doing that. But it has yet to be clarified. But that's my interpretation, and I hope that helps a little bit there. So this is K3BYC. I'm going to turn it back to Net Control and see if that helped. Thank you.
Hey, very good there, Carlton. And yeah, a lot of information here. So I'll hand it back over to Ray, N3DQD, and see if that answered his question.
Yes, Carlton, that's N3DQD here. That makes sense. My problem with what Mike's response was that those devices do use a radio, and you do use your DMR profile to log in. With your numbers and your password, etc., in that device. So I just did not understand why those devices were not permitted. But thank you very much. This is N3DQD.
All right, sounds good there. Thanks there, Ray. All right, were there any other questions for the net this evening? Please call now. All right, nothing heard there, so we will move into our comments there. So the net topic this evening is equipment in your shack. What do you use the most, and any recommendations? And I want to give credit to Paul N2NCB. I believe he mentioned this during our previous couple of weeks back. There was a net, and I think this was one that he suggested. So top of my list here is K3 BYC Carlton. How was your week?
This is K3BYC. Good evening, Frank, and everyone on the net. Well, of course, it's always weather. And so far, we've gotten off easy. Looks like the next event is going to start Tuesday night, going into Wednesday with some kind of moderate to light snow, and then turning to all rain by Thursday. So I'm hoping to get off easy. Uh, Even though I have a general class license, I don't do HF. I don't own any HF equipment. Basically, what I have at home, I use a couple of 2 meter, dual band rigs, Yaesu with system fusion, a couple of HTs with DMR. Um, for getting into the internet, I have Signal Link. I do some FL Digi on the 2 meter, 70 centimeter, and then of course my Raspberry Pi to get me on the internet for my DMR or any modes, other modes if I choose to do so. And then of course my computers to monitor everything. That's all I have. I'm not an HF person, and I don't really have the room. And this old house doesn't have the the power really to push all that wattage there. So that's all I have for now. Everybody have a safe week and stay warm. This is K3BYC. Back to net control.
Hey, very good there, Carlton. And yeah, sometime you mentioned you had a Yaesu. Um, I think you said a Yaesu mobile rig, but we'll have to see if you can come in through the Wires X room sometimes. I'd like to get some more use out of that Wires X room. Seems like every once in a blue moon we'll get somebody from Wires X coming in. But I'd like to also check if we had more consistent people. I would make sure that the bridge is actually working all the time. Sometimes if it falls apart, I might notice it like a week or so later because nobody kind of raised a red flag and said, hey, it's not working for me. So, but, all right, next one list is N2QFD Mail. How was your week?
Hey Frank, good evening. Good evening to the net. It was pretty typical, and as was stated, the weather was on the mind. I've got a nice drive to make every day, and it seems like it always comes in the night before work. I guess that's just luck. Um, I played around a lot this weekend and ended up returning a QIT brand radio. Just wasn't up to specs for me, and I'm not sure there's a ton of consistency in their output. I think pinouts weren't as listed in the manual, and programming was abysmal. Uh, so that was the tomfoolery of the weekend. Stuff in the shack I use a lot. Well, I was going to say the chair, but joking aside, um, I organized the closet in the shack here with a bunch of totes. Each tote has by thematic gear in there, and it's really made life a lot better for me when I'm swapping out stuff or building stuff or doing stuff. So just the organization's been a great leap for me. I was kind of in the same spot. I don't have a lot of room on my desk. I run 2RP equipment and keep a very small footprint for that with HF. But otherwise, I think the biggest game changer in the last couple of years has been just getting more organized. We'll pass it back to Nat. Here's N2 QFD.
Hey, very good there, Mal. And yeah, I hear it in the programming. It seems like every DMR radio has their own CPS and its own like little style of programming. And honestly, I always try to find, hey, where do I import and export the CVS CSV file? Sorry, not CVS. The comma separated values file there, and I ended up just messing around with spreadsheets more or less rather than trying to mess with their CPS program. But also on organization, actually, surprisingly, I was listening to you say that, and I'm like, man, that's the same thing I do. I put a lot of different things in totes, and I actually found for organization, What I do is I get some of like the sandwich baggies or the little like quart size baggies, and I'll put all my cords that are related to each other in like a bag. Like if I have a whole bunch of Type C cables or something, I'll put all the Type C, I'll wind them up, put them all in a bag, and I'll fold over a Post-it note and I'll put like Type C, so I can easily find the bag and I find there's all my Type C cables or there's my Anytone 878 programming cable or I have it all labeled in different bags and it's much easier than trying to untangle cords kind of in a mix, actually in the tote. So just a tip there if you haven't found out with bags that there's it just to me I was like, oh, this makes this thing so much easier. So all right, next on the list is N2BSS. Jeff, how was your week?
Yeah, good evening, Frank and the net. W2FJH and 2BSS on this Super Bowl evening. I've actually got the game on TV downstairs. I'm up here upstairs playing radio, so as not to disturb anyone downstairs who may or may not be watching the game. Obviously, we're being in Pennsylvania. We're rooting for the Pennsylvania team. Go Birds! And I just don't like Kansas City. But anyway, neither here nor there. Not really heavily into football or any of that, but it is the event of the evening. So we're actually cooking chicken wings and tortillas and all that other stuff, and partaking in the social aspects of that. Ham radio wise, this is probably it for the most common thing I'm using in my ham shack. My Anytone 878 radio on DMR, of course, with the Raspberry Pi hotspot. Tell you what, I got my start in ham radio 40 some odd years ago. And radios were a lot simpler then. You just dialed in the numbers you want. In fact, I had an HD that had crystals in it. So you wanted to, change frequency. You had to have the crystal in there. There was no PL, none of that other stuff. Some of these Chinese radios, they're crazy to program that you need to use a computer. I like to be able to just enter something from the keypad and be easy with it. Hey, this 878 is a nice radio, but I still feel that, to be able to quit QSY, I still got to have GPS loaded and all that other stuff, whether I'm on the DMR side or the analog side or whatever. HF, I got my trusty old FT847, which is 30 some odd years old. I'm down to one antenna because the squirrels ate the ropes on the other one, and I'm hoping that if this winter ever ends, that I can get some antennas back up in the yard and expand my reach because I'm limited 10 or 20 right now. And I got the crazy idea of building vertical antennas for 30 and 40. I want to see how that works. So just a little bit of an experiment and see what goes on, and probably put an end-fed half wave for 80 meters, and then I'm actually thinking about a full wave delta loop for 80 meters as well, because that should resonate everywhere for me as well. So we shall see. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. W2FJH and TBSS.
Hey, very good there, Jeff. And yeah, I know some people they have problems with the 878 and everything, but I gotta say I've messed around with a few other EMR radios and like the I would recommend the GD88 to people, but I gotta say one of the biggest pet peeves, and I can't recommend it unless they actually change the firmware for it. You cannot add a channel on the 878 from just the radio itself. You have to go into the CPS to add a new channel. There's no like save new channel frequent or feature there. So without that, I mean it's a nice radio, but there's still some firmware flaws to it that I can't get over. But I do gotta say the 878, uh, you're right. It's not just a turn of a dial and there you go. But there is a way at least to add in a new frequency and put a new talk group in there and actually add a new channel fairly easily. So, but all right, very good there, and thanks for taking time out of your Super Bowl there. I'll let you get going there, back to the chicken wings and everything. So I won't hold you. So, all right, next on my list is N3OJP. Mick, how was your week?
Good evening, Frank. Everybody on the net. Busy week. Had a couple appointments. And weather-wise, we didn't get any terrible snow. We had the warm up early in the week, but we had some icing yesterday, some freezing rain. And with the temperatures not getting up above freezing, I still got some ice, of course, in the trees and on the wires and everything. So, by the way, that was a good explanation by Carlton regarding Ray's question. And I'm surprised at Brandmeister. You think if you want to promote digital radio, you got to be a little bit flexible. And by making restrictions, well, you know what's going to happen. It's going to restrict people from going with DMR. But as far as my equipment here, I've got a desk and I've built some shelves on it. So I got a couple 7300s. I've got some older HF equipment. There's VHF, UHF, some 10 meter. So that's all pretty much in one place with the power supplies. But I've got my bench right behind it. And I've got that set up. I can do anything. Soldering is a big vise, you name it. And I've got quite a bit of shelving there with all my ham radio equipment. Probably the piece of equipment that I use the most is my multimeter. I've got quite a few. I've got them at this house. I got them at the place at Chautauqua Lake. Both garages, I got them in the car. So I've always got some sort of multimeter available. And I do like the analog. I do like to see the needle move. That's more of a true reading. Sometimes with digital readouts, it's too fast, so you can't really see what's going on. So I guess from a technical background, that's why I prefer the analog. But yeah, we got the game on too. There's really not much else. So if it gets bored, we'll put on Lawrence Welk. Frank, back to you. W2FJH and 30JP.
Hey, very good there, Mick. And yeah, sorry, when you're talking the multimeter and the SWR meter there, you said digital. I thought you meant you were transmitting DMR over it, and I know I've had a problem with that because it's only talking on one time slot, and I have a digital SWR, but it's only talking on one time slot, and the signal keeps dropping. It keeps fluctuating back and forth. So it's kind of hard to read out what it says. I think I want to say I switched it over instead of doing it over a repeater, so it's only using one time slot. If I did it on simplex or like it pushes it on both time slots at the same time, I think that's actually gave me a truer reading of what the output was coming in at. But otherwise, it comes in, it shows pretty low because it's only transmitting half the time. And and I was going to mention that the soldering too. I have. I was going to say I'm jealous there because usually if I have to solder something, I got a little folding table I got to go set up, and I have all my soldering stuff in a tote somewhere, and I have a bunch of setup. I just don't have a bench to go and do that on. So it's very nice there. So, all right, next on the list is N2NRA. Cliff, how was your week?
This is M2NRA. I wasn't on last week. Had the normal virus last Sunday. Recovered okay. I guess the flu is on the rise, so everybody be careful what they touch and stay sanitized. And we had a 3/4 inch and 3/4 of snow today. And like Mick said, last Friday, I guess we had that ice storm, which making it very slippery to walk out about. And as far as I've been out of ham radio for about 3 years, getting back into it. Got the antenna set up, the stations working on getting set up, organized, shelving. I got my workbench together here just a week or two ago. And but mostly getting into digital radio with the help of Mel there, getting me set up and learning how to use that as well, and it's all new. And so that's about it for here. So fine business, fine business on everybody tonight, and we'll send it back to net control. W2FJH. This is N2NRA.
Hey, very good there, Mick. Or, yeah, Mick. Cliff. And yeah, you actually reminded me. I see Mel was on this week here, and I wanted to mention to him that I did pick up that DigiRig, and I also did get a DigiRig mobile Min DIN 10 cable there. It has audio and cat control for the FTM 500. So I have it sitting on my desk here. Haven't done anything with it yet. I might have to actually hook it up, and I might be tapping Mal and maybe you there, Cliff, for any questions I do have. So, all right, this is W2F3H with the STNY Digital VoiceNet. Before I get to my next station, let's see if there's any additional stations who would like to join this evening. Please call now.
KD3AJN, Kilo Delta 3, Alpha Juliet, November. Anna from Beaver County. No comments.
All right, and we have KD3AJN. Anna is going to be checking in and out. Thanks for joining us here this night, Anna. All right, next on my list is N3DQD. Ray, how was your week?
W2FJH3DQD. Well, Anna and I just passed the radio back and forth here. Our week went well here. I guess the most exciting radio thing I did, I made a couple contacts in China the other day on DMR, which was a whole lot of fun. I had never worked China on HF. Of course, I haven't had an HF station for 35 years, but it was just a thrill to do that. And I really kind of relate to what Jeff said about some of that equipment, because the time he's talking about, there were the Regency crystal 2-meter rigs and Wilson handhelds with crystals and all that. And I remember the first thing that got exciting was when Icon came out with the one with the thumb wheels. That was a big deal. No memories, but you could change your frequency and your offset with a switch. So what we use here, we have 2 meters and 440 and 220 mobile radios, and they're on the 2 meters on all the time, and then we use our node here for primarily All-Star. Back to net. This is N3DQD.
Hey, thanks there, Ray. And yeah, we actually haven't talked about All Star in quite a while there. There was something I was going to mention there, but I lost my train of thought. But all right, this is W2FJH with the STNY Digital VoiceNet. Actually, since you were right there with Anna Ray, if she did want to jump in and add any comments, I'll take another pause here and see if there's any additional stations or if Anna wants to give us any comments. Please call now.
KD3AJN. I'm really happy with the welcome that I've gotten from all the people on the different nets that I've joined. I just got my license in December, and I'm very excited to talk to a lot of people. KD3AJN.
Hey, very good there, Anna. And yeah, thanks for joining the net again and giving us some comments there. And yeah, along the way there, any questions you want to bring up to the net, and well, you do have Ray there as well to answer any questions you have right away. But yeah. yeah, bring them up to the net, and we'll be more than happy to help. So, all right, this is W2FJH with the STNY Digital Voice Net. Let's see if there's any additional stations out there that would like to join this evening. Please call now. All right, nothing heard there, so let's open it up for any additional stations or any stations that have checked in with additional comments, questions, or concerns. Please call now.
And 2 QFD with an additional.
N2 QFD mail. Fire away with your comments, sir.
Well, I heard there was a few other people using Anytones, 878s anyhow, and I left a note on the web forum, you can 73net, for folks. Visit the website too much. Firmware updates has been a thing for me with this radio recently. We're up to 3.06. They have made some improvements with the GPS reception, but it has degraded some part of the APRS. And if you do use APRS, I would suggest not updating your firmware or rolling back in the case where I had to roll back to gain back better APRS functions. That's one of the features you use in the radio. So thought I'd pass that along. It's 2FD to net.
Hey, thanks, there, Mal. And yeah, I did see that on 7.3. And just for anybody who doesn't know, his comments, more detailed information about what he said there, you can find on 7.3. It's SEVEN and then numeric number 3.net. 7 spelled out, numeric number 3.net. And you should be able to see Mel's comments there regarding that on the 878 firmware. So. All right. Any additional stations or any stations that have checked in with additional comments, questions, or concerns? Please call now. All right, nothing heard there, so we might as well wrap things up here. I'd like to thank Carlton, Mal, Jeff, Mick, Cliff, Ray, and Anna for joining me this evening. We'll be returning this talk group back to normal amateur radio use. Everybody have a great and safe week there. This is W2FJH, and I'll be listening.